Hey guys, Harry's here. So the continuation of our series for online presence authority is back, and today we're going to talk about SEO. SEO stands for search engine optimization. You probably heard it all the time and you wonder, what is it? How can I get on it? What should I do? What do I need to do? SEO can be very complex, but also can be very easy depending on how you look at it, like everything else in life. But let's do a deep dive. So here at my agency, we break down SEO in 3 different categories, and some of the names you might heard of them. One of them is technical SEO, which oftentimes called on-page SEO, on-site SEO. The second one is local SEO, which also called local maps. And then there is the organic SEO. The reason we break this down into 3 different categories is because it's much easier to break down the explanation and how do you execute some of the work, so that both it's easier for us to explain it to you, but also for you to understand it in a way that makes a lot of sense. So technical SEO is everything to do with your website itself, things that you control to some degree. Local SEO, that has to do with the maps, Google Maps, Microsoft Bing Business Places, Apple Maps, Facebook placement, and Yelp. These are local SEO things that you need to take care of from your end. You don't really have much control, but you do, because they are so important, very critical for your online presence. You just can manage that. And then there is the organic SEO, where you can be found for very specific keyword, various keywords based on your product, services, and the different content and relevancy of the content that you provide, so that the search engine index it. So when you look at those 3 things, and each of them really depending on each other. So for example, you cannot really have a very big national presence from an SEO perspective without your website being optimized. And for your website to be optimized, you're looking at technical SEO, if that makes sense. So we're gonna really focus on things that you can do to optimize your website for technical SEO purposes. One of the first things you want to do is do an inventory of your website to look at where you stand from a competitiveness perspective. There's a lot of tools out there. One that I would suggest is Uber Suggest, which owned by Neil Patel. And then the other one is Ahref, which is very well known in the SEO world. Those 2 tools don't do a complete site audit, but give you an idea some of the adjustment you can do on your website. Because number one thing that you want to take care of on your website from a technical SEO perspective is your website speed. So your website speed has to do with a few different things. Where you host, so your hosting provider might be in a very slow connection, or you in a share hosting environment that really holds you down, and possibly the way your website was built. There's lots of images, there's lots of videos, and those are not optimized to run there properly, so it's very slow. That can really hurt you from a search engine perspective, because when someone search information, if Google think your website is too slow, they don't send people there. That's the relevancy and the importance of this, so that you want to check your website speed. The second thing you want to do is basically make sure your website doesn't have any breaking links. And some of those tools will help you find the breaking links on your website. A breaking links is anything that is on your website that's supposed to be linking to something else, but when someone clicks on it, it goes to a dead page. Usually you see this a 404 error, and the 404 error means that this page doesn't really exist. So there are a few reasons for that: website change, URL change. So you want to update that information. You want to get a system that can help you update that. The other thing that you want to take a look at is your website structure. This is much easier to say than done. You don't have to be technical, but you do have to know how to update this information, or at least here now you're gonna get the knowledge. You could get your person that in charge of updating your website to get those updates done for you. The first thing, every single page on your website should have its own page title. A page title is at the very top at the URL when you visit your website here. The second thing you want to make sure is the keywords for your website. I'm gonna take WordPress as an example of where you can make sure some of those keywords are added, and you can use the tools. For example, if you are using WordPress, you can use Yoast plugin to ensure that you get the proper title tag and the meta tag is correct. Meta tags is a combination of the title of the page, the keywords that associate with that specific page, and the description for that specific page. And within the structure there as well is the schema for that site. Schema is a little bit more technical. There is a couple ways you can create schema, and if you don't know, you can you take a look at Google's documentation here on how to create a schema for a specific page, and each page on your website should have their own schema. The next thing you want to do is making sure your website content is structured properly. What that means is every time you go to your website, there is an hierarchy on the level of where each element on the website sit. So there is what they call the H1 and P, H1, H2, H3, up to H6. The H stands for header. If you can think of it that way, if you're looking at a newspaper or a big article from this big website, there is the header, and then there is the individual section for each of those header, and sometimes it breaks down, each of the sections break down into their own headings, and each of those headings are lower than the first header. So you have to have the structure on your website as well, and that gives the search engine direction what they should look at, the importance of each of these element and segment on their website. The second thing you want to do is making sure the paragraphs make sense, and try to break down your content. Every time you break down the content, you not only answer a question to the end user, but you give the search engine exactly what they're looking for in terms of here's what we do, here's how we do it, and here's when we do it, is where we do it kind of deal, right? Because you break it down that way, when a visitor comes to your website, they're able to read that information, understand it, the search engine index it and understand it, so that the search engine and save it when someone make that query, meaning the search for that keyword, the search engine say, oh, I know the perfect website that has that thing you're looking for. That's how you get found. The other thing you want to check out on your website is making sure your sitemap on your website is correct, the XML sitemap. Not just, you see the little button on most websites, you see it says sitemap. That's not the sitemap we're looking at. This is good where it's more of a visual direction for the visitor that come to your website. It's really helpful. If your website has more than 20 pages, I think sometimes this sitemap link from the bottom is very helpful because it gives the user a clear direction, and some of the links, they can easily see all the pages that you have on your website. They want, at least the one you want to display. But the sitemap I'm talking about here is the XML sitemap. If your website is set up properly, you should have the XML sitemap. The XML sitemap is actually what the search engines take a look at when they visit your website, when they call your website. So that's, from a technical perspective, some of the things that you want to make sure you have on your website. For hosting also is where you are hosted your website is very important. If you are in the US East Coast and you know most of your customers are gonna be coming from the East Coast, especially for the local businesses, you might want to make sure you find a host, or at least work with the company you work with to ensure your website is hosted on the East Coast if you can. And there's a ton of other ways you can manage that, but the other ways you can look at it this way is, if you have a local business but you have a lot of international / other people that's coming to your website, make sure your website is hosted in a place that is reachable. So for example, if you are in Florida and you are a local mom and pop shop, whatever that might be, whether you're a marine business, you do boat rental or boat charter, obviously you have customers coming from all over that coming to you. Where you want your website to host is possibly in the middle of the United States with a good, what they call CDN, content delivery network. We're not gonna go into the detail. I'm gonna shoot a video specifically about CDN. That's how you would want to make sure your website is hosted where closer to your customers, so that improve the speed and the availability of it. One last thing I would say on the technical SEO, and I also mentioned that on the website module, is make sure you have clear call to action on your website. Give the customer, the visitor, a clear call to action, what they need to do. Book now, schedule now, reserve now, contact us now, call us now. All of those are clear call to action, and have at least 5 call to action right on your homepage so that the user knows what you want them to do. That's the technical SEO side. Then when you go to the local SEO, that has to do with purely on local Google Maps. When you search for anything on Google, you get 3 results, what they call the 3 pack. So the first thing you often see is the pay ads at the very top, and the second thing is the maps where those users are, and the third one is the bottom where the list of sites that answer this question. So the map one is what we're talking about here, the local SEO. How do you get on that maps? There's lots of different variation on how you get there, but one of the first thing obviously is to register your business with Google, and the way you do that is to claim Google Business Profile. It's very easy to do that. If you haven't done so yet, I highly recommend you do it now. But also, if you have taken over your Google Business Profile, make sure you keep it up to date. A few things you want to keep up to date on your Google Business Profile is your business name, and make sure you use that one name across the board. Keep it consistent, and there is the phone number, whether you have a local address or not. Make sure you mention that. Make sure you select the categories your business is operating under. So some businesses, you might have 3 different categories or even 4 categories that you're operating on. For example, if you're a marina, you do rental, you do club, and you're a dealership, so you basically have 4 or 5 different businesses, or depending how you even break it down, you might even have 10 different business units there. You might even want to list them separately anyways, but if you do want to keep them together, you do want to select the primary business that you want to show up for. Although you will be able to add the additional categories that you are in, but you want to make sure you get the top categories that you want to be known and show for. The other thing you want to do on your Google Business Profile is update the pictures, the name of the team, the building of the business, and so forth, so that when the user comes, they have an understanding of where you are, who you are, and they affiliate with you, kind of have the feeling of, okay, this is the website, those are the pictures from the guy from the website, and these are the guys that I also see in Google Business Profile. So now you have your business profile set up, updated. The next thing is make sure you capture those reviews. Connect your reviews to your business profile. This is why it's so critical. Get this updated and making sure you optimize it so you can be shown on the Google Map as well. The third piece on SEO is organic SEO. So this is really the general term for SEO itself, but this covers almost everything in terms of, really, if you do organic SEO, if you do it right, then technical SEO has to be taken care of. If you can use this analogy, you cannot really tell people to come over your house. If you have no chairs, nothing, and the inside is not even ready for them to go in, there's a lot of obstacle for them to even open the door to get in. What's the point of inviting them? It's a waste of energy, time, and sometimes embarrassment for you. Really, you can take that analogy from an SEO perspective. If you do a lot of outside work on your website and then you don't do the internal work, it's almost inviting people to your house. The door is not even ready to be open. You cannot even open it. So the same thing for your website. When you do organic SEO has to do with a lot of content, backlinks that you reach out to other reputable websites that you can backlinks to, the quality of the content that you push out, and also the submission to different citations and directories. Obviously, this is part of local maps, but that also ties back to your overall organic SEO. So you have all this effort that outside of your website itself. Some of it is, but some of it is not. When you create, for example, lead magnets, you create different pillar pages, cornerstone pages and product description detail pages, certain link magnets and other landing pages, all of those different elements that are reside in your website, oftentimes link to outside and some other outside link to you. All of those things have to make sense in a way that the search engine can index this and add it up so that when the user comes to your website, they have the proper information that they're looking for. SEO is a long-term game. It's not an overnight success. Anybody that offers you success overnight on SEO that tells you you're gonna be number 1 or number 2 tomorrow or even in a month, you might want to run away from them. Even if you can, if they promise it to you, then they are doing something that might not be super legit and legal and questionable, I guess, if you want to say that. So you might want to check them out and making sure you're not violating any Google rules that can get you banned forever. The last thing you want to do is getting your business banned. So make sure you in compliance. Check out the people that say they're gonna do SEO for you. Check out some of their results, interview them, take a look at some of their case studies, ask them questions, quite frankly, see what they have done or how they can actually get that result for you. SEO is a long game. It is critical that you make sure you get your SEO right before you spend a ton of money on your marketing. That doesn't mean that you don't do marketing at all, but make sure you get, it's almost like getting your house clean before you invite guests. Okay, that's it. I hope this been helpful. If you have any questions, put your comment, reach out to us. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, comment, hit the notification button so you can get the notification for when we add new videos. Thank you guys. Talk to you soon.